The golden rays of the evening sun bathed the village of Idemalai in a warm glow, casting long shadows on the red earth. In the heart of the village, inside a modest mud brick home, Anita sat by the window, her chin resting on her palms. The distant laughter of girls her age echoed in the air. They moved freely, their colorful skirts swaying as they flirted with young men by the roadside. Her heart ached with longing. Anita was different. Not by choice, but by force. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Okeke, had raised her under strict Christian values. To them, decency and discipline were the foundation of a good life. While other girls in the village wore bold outfits and attended evening gatherings, Anita was expected to stay home, cook, clean, and study. If a boy so much as looked at her, her mother would rebuke her, warning that a girl's pride is in her purity. But to Anita, this was bondage, not love. She watched her peers with envy, their bangles jingling as they giggled with their lovers. "Why must I be different?" she muttered. She longed to wear short gowns, apply bright lipstick, and receive sweet words from admiring men. But her parents made sure none of that happened. They saw her as their treasure, but she felt like a prisoner. One evening, as she scrubbed the kitchen floor, sweat dripping down her brow, she clenched her fists and whispered, "One day, I will be free." Then, with fire in her eyes, she vowed, "When I enter the university, I will do whatever I want." Little did she know, that desire would lead her down a road she could never return from. The day Anita had been waiting for finally arrived. She had gotten admission into the university. On the day of her departure to the university, the entire village gathered to bid her farewell, singing praises of how she would bring honor to her family. Her mother, eyes brimming with tears, held her hands tightly. "My daughter, remember who you are. Stay away from bad friends. Focus on your studies and never forget the fear of God." Anita nodded, forcing a smile, but deep inside, her heart leapt with excitement. As soon as she stepped into the university gates, a new world unfolded before her, one filled with freedom, adventure, and temptation. No one to tell her how to dress, where to go, or who to talk to. She could finally breathe. After her first year in the university, she still tried to hold on to her upbringing, attending lectures, staying in her modest hostel, and praying before bed. But the sight of other girls living lavishly, wearing designer clothes, going to expensive restaurants, and riding in flashy cars ignited a hunger in her. Then came Nancy. Nancy was everything Anita secretly wished to be: bold, confident, and wealthy. Unlike Anita, she had no restrictions growing up. One evening, while studying in Anita's tiny room, Nancy leaned in with a knowing smile. "Anita, do you know that with your beauty, you can have anything you want? Expensive clothes, fine shoes, even good grades, without stressing yourself." Anita's heart pounded. "How?" Nancy laughed. "It is very simple. Don't worry, I will guide you." Anita hesitated. Her mother's voice echoed in her head, warning her about bad company. But as she stared at Nancy's designer bag and sleek phone, temptation tightened its grip on her heart. She had a choice to make. And it would change everything. Anita tossed and turned that night, Nancy's words echoing in her mind. "With your beauty, you can have anything you want." She thought about her tiny room with its peeling walls, her simple clothes, and the days she went to bed hungry because she couldn't afford a proper meal. Meanwhile, girls like Nancy wore designer dresses, ate in expensive restaurants, and had men worshipping their every move. The next morning, she saw Nancy at a cafe, laughing with a man old enough to be her father. He handed her a thick envelope, and she kissed his cheek before he walked away. Nancy caught Anita staring and smirked. "Still thinking about what I told you?" she asked, flipping her curly hair. Anita hesitated, but then sighed. "Tell me more." Nancy grinned. "Like I said, it's very simple. Men love beautiful girls. You just have to know how to use it. No stress, no begging, just money, luxury, and power. The thought was intoxicating. For the first time, Anita felt the chains of her parents' control breaking, and she made up her mind to try what Nancy said. That evening, Nancy took her to a high-end restaurant. Anita felt out of place in her modest gown while Nancy wore a tight red dress that turned heads. Soon, two wealthy men approached their table. One of them, Mr. Charles, a businessman in his 40s, couldn't take his eyes off Anita. "You are a rare beauty," he said smoothly, sliding his card across the table. Anita's hands trembled as she picked it up. Her heart pounded in excitement and fear. This was it. The first step down a path she could never turn back from. Anita's transformation happened faster than she expected. One moment, she was a reserved village girl, struggling to make ends meet. The next, she was draped in luxury, drowning in wealth that came at a hidden price. It all started with Mr. Charles. He took her on expensive dinner dates, showering her with gifts she never imagined owning, a brand new iPhone, designer dresses, and lots of cash. The first night she spent with him in a 5-star hotel, she felt a deep unease as it was her first time sleeping with a man for money, but Nancy's voice echoed in her head. Men will always take what they want. The difference is, you get paid for it. With time, the guilt faded, replaced by excitement. Nancy was her guide, introducing her to businessmen, politicians, and wealthy sugar daddies who were eager to spend money on young, beautiful girls. They traveled in luxury, spent weekends in private beach resorts, and shopped in the most expensive boutiques. Anita had once admired girls who lived like this, now she was one of them. But it wasn't just rich men. Nancy also revealed a shortcut to academic success. Their male lecturers, some married with children, were just as desperate for young girls. A simple visit to their hotel rooms and sometimes an envelope stuffed with cash ensured straight A's in difficult courses. So Anita started sleeping with lecturers and sometimes giving them money to pass her courses. One night, after a wild clubbing spree, Anita and Nancy stumbled into their luxurious apartment. Anita collapsed on the soft, silk-covered bed, still wearing her designer heels. "Can you believe we used to struggle?" she laughed drunkenly. Nancy chuckled, pouring herself a glass of champagne. "Struggle? That life is over. We are in control now." Their new reality was intoxicating. They attended high-class parties where they mingled with Nigeria's elite, drinking the finest wines, wearing imported wigs, and carrying handbags worth more than their entire first-year school fees. Money was never a problem. Anita sent some home occasionally to silence her mother's concerns, claiming she had won a scholarship. Her parents knew something was wrong. She stopped visiting the village, ignoring their calls. But Anita didn't care. This was the life she had always dreamed of. Trips to different states became the norm. Exotic vacations, expensive jewelry and clothes, she had it all. The same lecturers who once frowned upon indecency were now bidding for her attention. She and Nancy laughed at how easy it was to manipulate men. But beneath all the luxury, something dark lurked in the shadows. Nancy never spoke about the girls who disappeared. She brushed off whispers of those who got involved with the wrong men and never returned. Anita didn't care. She was flying too high to see the fall that awaited her. The night was electric. Loud music thumped through the nightclub as Anita and Nancy danced, their bodies moving in sync with the flashing lights. Their table was overflowing with champagne bottles, exotic cocktails, and neatly stacked wads of cash, gifts from men who watched them with hungry eyes. Anita threw her head back and laughed, feeling invincible. She had never imagined life could be this thrilling. Money flowed like water. Every night was a new adventure, and every morning brought new luxuries. But that night, something felt different. As they exited the club, a young girl ran past them, her face covered in bruises, her dress torn. She was crying, begging for help, but before Anita or Nancy could react, a muscular man grabbed her and dragged her into a black SUV. Anita froze. Her stomach tightened with unease. Nancy scoffed. Forget her. She probably messed with the wrong man. Anita tried to shake off the uneasy feeling, but it lingered. A week later, she received an anonymous text message. Be careful. You are playing a dangerous game. She showed Nancy, but Nancy laughed it off. It's just some jealous girl trying to scare you. Yet, the warnings didn't stop. Another girl from their circle, Chioma, had vanished without a trace. One moment, she was posting pictures from a luxury hotel, the next, her phone was switched off. Rumors spread. Some said she had been sold into prostitution abroad. Others whispered that a powerful man had silenced her forever. Anita's hands shook as she scrolled through Chioma's last Instagram post, a photo of a glass of wine with the caption, "Living the dream." Was this really a dream? Or was it a nightmare waiting to unfold? For the first time, fear crept into Anita's heart. But it was too late to turn back now. 2 days later, Anita received a call from one of their wealthiest clients, Chief David, a powerful politician who always showered them with cash and expensive gifts. He invited her and Nancy on a trip to Italy, an offer they eagerly accepted. It would be their first time traveling abroad. Chief David was no stranger to them. As one of their most generous sugar daddies, he slept with them without question. Sometimes, he even sleeps both girls at once. Anita quickly informed Nancy, and they both squealed in excitement. To them, this was a dream come true, luxury, adventure, and fun. They imagined themselves shopping in grand malls, dining in five-star restaurants, and swimming in infinity pools overlooking the city. The thought of flying on a first-class ticket, wearing designer outfits, and living the high life thrilled them. This was everything they had ever wanted: success, freedom, and pleasure. But in their excitement, they ignored the warning signs, the unsettling rumors about girls who never returned from such trips. They dismissed the tiny voice of reason whispering in their minds. The airplane touched down in Italy, its wheels screeching against the tarmac. Anita and Nancy, overwhelmed with excitement, stepped out into the foreign land, breathing in the cool European air. This was the life they had always dreamed of. Chief David said to them, "Welcome to paradise, my beautiful queens," he said smoothly. Anita's heart swelled with pride. She had made it. They were quickly ushered into a black SUV, driving through streets lined with towering buildings and dazzling city lights. The world outside felt so grand, so promising. But something was off. Instead of a five-star hotel, they arrived at a narrow street with tall, shadowy buildings. The car pulled up to an old apartment, and before they could question anything, a stern-looking woman emerged from the doorway. Chief David's demeanor changed. His smile disappeared. His eyes turned cold. "This is where you be staying," he said, taking their passports from them. Anita's stomach twisted and she said to Nancy, "Why did he take our passports?" Nancy laughed nervously. "Wait, Chief David, where's the hotel?" The woman scoffed. "There's no hotel. You have been brought here to work." Anita's breath caught in her throat. "Work? What do you mean?" "You owe 20 million naira each, that's the money spent in bringing you here. You will work for me as prostitute until your debt is paid." The words hit Anita like a slap. Her words spun. No, this is a mistake. Chief David." But Chief David had already entered the SUV and driven away. Nancy screamed, lunging at the woman, but within seconds, two muscular men emerged from the shadows. A sharp blow landed on her face. She crumbled to the floor, blood dripping from her nose. Anita froze. Terror gripped her. They had been sold. And there was no way out. The door slammed shut, and Anita flinched. The air in the small, dimly lit room was thick with cheap perfume and cigarette smoke. She could still hear Nancy sobbing in the corner, her face bruised. The first night had been the worst. She had fought, screamed, begged. But it didn't matter. Men came to sleep with them, one after another, their eyes filled with nothing but lust. Anita had never known pain like this, physical, emotional, and soul-crushing. Tears burned Anita's eyes. What would her mother think if she saw her now? The expensive clothes, the fancy hotels, the lavish lifestyle, it had all been a lie. She had traded her soul for illusions. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Each morning, new men arrived. Some were gentle. Others were monsters. There was no escape. Every attempt was met with brutal beatings, leaving their bodies sore and their spirits broken. One night, a new girl arrived, frightened, just as they had once been. She tried to run, but the guards grabbed her and dragged her into another room. Her screams echoed through the walls. Anita closed her eyes. She had once believed freedom was doing whatever she wanted. Now, she realized true freedom was the life she had left behind. The life her parents had advised her to live. But it was too late. She was trapped. And no one was coming to save her. Back in Idemali, Anita's mother sat on the veranda, staring into the darkness. The night was silent, except for the distant sound of crickets. A deep sigh escaped her lips as she clutched her phone, hoping, praying, for a call that never came. It had been months since Anita last visited. At first, she had called frequently, laughing and assuring them that school was going well. Then, the calls became shorter. Eventually, they stopped altogether. Something was wrong. Her husband, a man of strong faith, believed their daughter was simply busy. She's studying hard, he would say, trying to convince himself as much as his wife. But a mother always knows. The last time she spoke with Anita, there was a shift in her voice, a coldness, a distance. This wasn't the girl she had raised. Tears burned her eyes as she scrolled through her daughter's social media. The pictures were shocking. Anita, once so modest, was now dressed in revealing outfits, flaunting designer bags, posing in exotic locations. Where did she get the money? With trembling hands, she dialed Anita's number again. As expected, it rang endlessly before going to voicemail. A lump formed in her throat. What had become of her daughter? She thought of the nights she had stayed up, praying over Anita, the sacrifices they had made to give her a better life. Was this what she had chosen? Her heart ached with an unbearable pain, a mother's worst fear creeping into her soul. Somewhere out there, her daughter was slipping away, drowning in a world she did not understand. And there was nothing she could do but pray. Lord, please, bring my daughter back to me. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like and subscribe. See you on the next one.